Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now? I think we're all bitterly disappointed, as the famous words go. We are here again for the Flagship podcast on the Celts are here. I am Quinny, and we're coming off the back of a heartbreaking game at the weekend, and I'm joined as ever by Josh. Josh, good to see you, mate. Hail, hail.
Good to see you. Good to be back in the pod. Obviously, a weekend of controversy, intriguing results in Scottish football, as it always is. You say, what the hell do we care? But I think we do care a lot about the SFA, John Beaton, VAR and the like, so plenty to chew over in today's pod.
Well, definitely. I think that's probably the number one thing that came out of the post-match is how much Brendan Rodgers gave a damn about all of this. Because, again, I've heard everyone say the same things. He said it himself, but it's not his MO. He's not an officials, an excuse maker, talk about external factors kind of guy. It's all quite focused on us. And, that's always, no matter the result, across all of his managerial career, as far as I can remember, that's been his way. So it was quite striking to hear him name people in the post-match, and Rodgers definitely felt armed robbery had taken place at the weekend. And I think I did a little analysis video when I was yesterday. I think one of the things a lot of people were chatting about is the Yang red card, which we're going to have. You were telling me just before we came on, there's news today that there's going to be an appeal being held at Hampden, most likely. To see, how it goes. Is that specifically over Yang, or is it the match as a whole?
So the appeal's been made for the Yang red card, and Celtic have also wrote to the SFA expressing concerns over VAR and the decisions that were made specifically in Sunday's game. So the hearings today, this is Tuesday as we're recording it, for the red card. So as the pod goes out, there'll probably be more news surrounding that, whether it gets rejected, whether it gets accepted and Yang's back. But I think it's a 2-game ban for a straight red card, if I'm correct in saying that, and they do carry into the cup games. So if the appeal doesn't get accepted, he'll miss 2 matches at home against Livingston St Johnstone. So not the games you're probably most gutted that he's going to miss. Celtic should be able to cope in his absence regardless, but we'll go into those games later on. But yeah, so the appeal's today, and we'll just have to wait and see what the outcome of that is. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to pan out. It could go either way for me. I've seen ones like this where the appeal's not came through. I've seen ones where they've been given it, and I don't know. It could go either way. What do you think about the appeal, Jink, though?
Well, I kind of touched on this in the video yesterday, right? But my first thoughts on it was like boot to face, studs to face. It's a red card every day of the week. It's just it's just no two ways about it. And I'm thinking when the thing happens, the on-pitch referee gives the yellow, and he's obviously seeing it's a high boot. The guys, they've had a coming together of sorts, and one's ended up on the ground, and he's given a yellow for it. And I think the only way VAR can really step into that is you've made a clear and obvious error here by giving the yellow. And I'm pretty sure the first sequence of little replays we had, like when you see his leg come up and all the rest of it, like I'm just yet to be convinced there's contact. That's the main thing. So if the VAR's stepping in and saying you've missed that, there's definitely contact, then I'm not sure. I think there's an angle that's went missing that we've seen in the first batch of replays, and then it never really gets seen ever again. Where's the cuts? Where's the bruises?
Yeah, I've watched over it a couple of times, and I don't even think there's contact. If I'm honest, the criteria for a red card is excessive force. I don't think Yang in any way uses excessive force there, and or if it endangers the safety of an opponent. Now, does he really endanger the safety of Alec Cochrane with the height of his boot, the force he's using? I don't think he does, because, well, at the end of the day, he doesn't even hit him, does he? He gets a bit on the ball and it goes away. So it's a very, very harsh red card, in my opinion. I think Don Robertson was right to give the yellow. In fairness to him, that was a good decision, but obviously Beaton getting involved, there's only going to be one outcome when he sends Don Robertson to the monitor. You very rarely see a referee stick with their decision. When that happens, I do feel sorry for Yang, because the whole red card just changed the total trajectory of the game. Celtic players looked a bit deflated a couple of times after it, and just it seemed inevitable that they were going to eventually drop points when they went down to 10 men, because it was so early in the match as well. If it happened just before half-time, just after half-time, then they might have stood the chance of taking something, but it's just vastly disappointing. And I think Brendan Rodgers was right with his post-match comments, like you touched on there. Cameron Carter-Vickers said it as well. His comments came out last night that VAR is just re-refereeing the game. Basically, he says when the referee has a clear view of it, like Don Robertson did, and he makes his decision, Carter Vickers is saying that there's no reason why VAR should get involved and change that decision because that is the opinion of the referee, and it's. I don't think it was a clear and obvious error. I mean,
No.
listen, see if Yang had the studs high up right in the face of the opposition player, and Don Robertson gives a yellow, then I can see why it would go to VAR because there's a clear and obvious error there because the player's been hit and he's been studded in the face. I've seen a lot of people draw comparisons between this one and the one I can't recall the St Mirren player, what his name was, that he gets sent off against Celtic just at New Year. In the 2nd of January, he went in on Joe Hart and studded his face and he got a red card for it, a straight red card. People drawing comparisons between that, but they're incomparable because the St Mirren player absolutely takes the face off Joe Hart, studs right in the face. Whereas this one, Yang doesn't even make contact. And yet they're both straight red cards. Make it make sense. You just want consistency. And obviously, this was only one of a number of poor decisions that were made in the match. So hugely, hugely disappointing, that one.
So this is it at full pace. And you tell me if you get kicked in the face at this kind of speed that you would have nothing to show for it afterwards. You know,
Yeah, I know that's true. I don't know. It's a hard. See, when you see it like that, right? I could see why potentially John Beaton in that VAR room thinks there could be a possible red card defence. But Cochrane, you look at that, you look at him holding his face and going down, and but then when you see the replay, when it's up close again, I don't think he even gets hit in the face. Yeah, he's going down and making a meal of it. For me, it's like I haven't really watched it enough, if I'm honest, because I've just tried to like switch off from a lot of this stuff because it just puts me in an even worse mood. But I think I don't really know. You've got it up here.
like that's probably as good as I can get it.
Yeah,
It is blooming well close, I'll tell you that for free.
it's
But if
like
that's his studs going
yeah.
onto his face at that speed, like he's cut, he's bruised, something.
I know. For me, it's just is there any contact though? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the main debate. I mean, it does look like when you get it like that, a Sheamus from WWE kick, the signature move that it does. That's what it does look like when you get it for there. But I don't know. I think you can make the case for a red card. I think you can make a case against the red card.
He definitely knows the guy's there. You know, I've heard
Yeah,
people saying like he's only going about the ball, he doesn't know the guy's there. If he doesn't know the guy's there, he's not trying the high feet to bring the ball down.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, if he thinks he's got time and space, he's letting that bounce, he's taking it on the chest or something.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
He knows it.
there's definitely a foul committed, I think, in no way, shape, or form. But
Yeah,
I think the rest probably nailed it on the pitch, yellow card.
yeah,
He's risking his opponent. I don't believe he's caught him. I think again, you'd have seen the medics checking him. It's a kick to the head.
yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
like
Yeah, I
no
know.
medical attention of any kind, like nothing. So it's just, you know, that's the line for me on it. And like
Yeah,
you mentioned, it is a real sliding doors, you know, kind of moment in the
mhm,
game, you know, because we were looking good, you know,
yeah,
and I felt that having Yang and Maeda either side of Ida, there was just a great energy out in
mhm,
the wide spaces. And with having a Wata in there, I felt like this was like the third game we had a Wata on the start. Just so it
mhm,
felt like there
yeah,
was a bit of synergy kind of coming in midfield. No, McGregor was also a wee bit of a curveball before the game, as it were. But it's, you know, I just felt like the first 10 or 15 minutes, like we looked pretty good. You know, I was actually
mhm,
quite impressed with the energy we had, how quick we were actually getting it from like the middle of the pitch into that kind of, if you imagine that funnel coming off the goal, you
mhm,
know,
yeah,
just getting into that kind of zone outside the 18-yard box was really quickly until that happened. And then I say it all goes pandemonium from there in some ways.
yeah. I would say it picked up from where it left off against Dundee last Wednesday night. Obviously, Celtic absolutely
Yeah.
blitzing them and they come into the game and they carry that on. Bar a couple of Hearts attacks in the opening 5 minutes or something like that. Celtic done well, obviously winning the penalty, have a couple of chances, and even immediately after they go down to 10 men, Matt Riley's goals disallowed marginally offside. So rather unfortunate there, but it was positive that without 10 men, we had 11 men on the park. Celtic still attacking well and continuing on with that form. And if that can keep up between now and the end of the season, then I don't think there'll be any really concerns. Because if that form keeps up, we could beat anyone in the country. Hearts away is a really tough game, and if I'm convinced if the decisions didn't go the way they did, Celtic win the game 2-3-0, and we're sitting here praising Brendan Rodgers for taking us back to the top of the table. So it's all swings roundabouts yet again. Like you said, sliding doors moments, it's just very tough. But Iwata coming in, he's continuing on with that run of form. I thought he had a couple of moments in the game on Sunday where he was maybe caught off guard for the Lawrence Shankland goal that was eventually chopped off for offside. Could maybe played the ball out to the wide areas a bit quicker there. So just things like that, regaining his sharpness. Obviously, Noel McGregor was a bit of a blow. Maybe if you have him in there, even when we go down to 10, perhaps you get a bit more out of the game because he looks to be that driving force in that midfield who kick starts things. So
Yeah, I
that's.
agree.
But even with 10 men, Celtic did still create some chances. Xander Clark had to make a couple of saves. The one with Kyogo in the second half, and Brendan Rodgers said it after the game as well. If Celtic got one, they'd probably eventually get two. And getting a point out of those circumstances, managing to close the gap would have been extraordinary. In fairness to the players, but weren't able to do that. Just lacked the cutting edge, and I think it's one of those games. For me, I was saying it while we watched it, that even with the decisions, with the way everything went, it's just one of those games you have to completely wipe out and just not think about and just go again. And we probably got a bit fortunate that Rangers lost on the Saturday, and it didn't really have any bearings on the title race in terms of falling more behind. Obviously, it's disappointing that didn't get to jump top of the league, but it's as you were, and kind of got away with one in that respect. But at the same time, I can understand the frustrations that Celtic are not back top of the table because under Philip Clement, we don't like to talk about them too much, but they've not dropped many points, and when they do, Celtic need to make sure that they're taking advantage. Weren't able to do that at the weekend, but I don't feel like that was through any fault of their own whatsoever. More down to incompetency and poor officiating and VAR, you name it. Everything that's kind of went against Celtic could have and did. It's one of those ones where just nothing, absolutely nothing fell into place. Like, when are you ever going to get a game again where Celtic miss a penalty, Celtic get a man sent off, Hearts get a penalty for something that's very, very soft. I'm sure we'll get onto it soon. And when going into the game, your captain gets injured unexpectedly, a man who's not missed a league game all season. So everything that could have gone against Celtic did. So it's just about moving on from it now and looking forward in a more positive manner.
Yeah, I think as well. Like on that kind of note, like it was also a wee bit of a blast from the past. Also, we're in a bit of a title race, which a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but there's enough people out there that aren't familiar with such a thing as a Celtic fan. But on top of that, like I kind of love the wake up call factor for Brendan on this one because last time he was here, it's a totally different situation to what it is now in terms of the league makeup and obviously the team other side of the city. And really, what it means winning the league at Celtic and what it's always kind of meant is that you need to be so good that the refs don't get you. That the refs can't rip it off you, can't send you down a path of destruction like they did on Saturday or Sunday, whatever it was Sunday. And Brendan never really had that experience last time around. Like he had the experience of like getting the result, like beating teams by 3-4s and whatever else, where the refs, you could just brush it off and move on next week. But when you're not in that position, you're not beating teams convincingly, then you give these people a lot more power to take it out of your control, as it were. So we'll see how the appeal goes and everything. But I think no matter what happens, like I really hope that kind of seed is kind of one of the things that does kind of get planted on the training ground now, is that we need to be better than the refs as well as the other team.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we are not giving any of these an opportunity to, do whatever word you want to use with the matches that we're involved in with them. So, in that kind of, because again, like Brendan, and let's say, we're not really like a siege mentality situation or club where it's like us versus the world. It's more like we want to prove that we're better. That's kind of the main thing with Celtics. Like we're going to play attacking football. We're going to score goals. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And that's always, a recipe for success. I think if you can get that kind of thing harnessed in the team a bit better, then it really could kick us on in a big, big way. But yeah, I thought like we've both kind of said in some different ways, there was definitely a lot more positives in the match from open play. Like if we did get a goal or so, like the goal that was offside, I want to say it was O'Reilly. I might be forgetting now. In the second half, or no, was it the first half? But we were down to 10 men.
Yeah, so
half.
Maeda played diagonal to Ida, who was
Yeah.
marginally offside. Then he cuts inside. I thought he took it too much. and then plays
Yeah,
it into
same.
slots into the bottom corner. But yeah, it's like fine margins like that, like you say. If that goes in,
That was great play. And
yeah,
see, one thing that I touched on in the breakdown video yesterday is I felt that when we went down to 10 men, Iwata and Daizen Maeda were loving it because
mm,
being down to 10 men, everyone needs to work harder, which means you just need to run around a bit more. And they kind of love a wee bit of free running, just to go
yeah,
in.
mm,
Like, Iwata isn't an attacking midfielder, but if he sees 20 yards, he's going to want to take it up, either positionally or with the ball. And
mhm,
Dyson, he'll go line to line and box to box if you let him. So
mhm,
it did feel that there was a wee pep, a wee kind of zest in the team kind of initially.
yeah,
And that maybe, obviously, people's batteries run down low and you need to make subs later in the game and whatever. But again, that kind of zest, that kind of energy that we've seen in the team in the first half, in the first 15 minutes when it was 11v11, however you want to think of it, I thought was really encouraging. And I think you've seen, and again, I'll be interested to hear what you think, Josh. I heard some people giving Ida a bit of a hard time for his performance at the weekend, but I thought the big man, he
yeah.
took one too many touches, I think, in that opportunity we were talking about just now. But I thought for a one-man show up there, I thought he did a pretty good job of trying to even run the channel as well as hold it
Yeah,
up whenever there was space there to play in.
particularly in the second half, I thought his hold up play was brilliant. Particularly in a type of game like that at Hearts away, where you're down to 10 men, you need someone who's able to do that and give you that out ball. And he done that. The only criticism I would have of his performance is the penalty miss, of course.
Yeah.
Just get a bit of height on it. Celtic's penalty record has been shocking this season, and we thought Ida was coming in and scored the two at Easter Road, and he was going to be Mr. Reliable from the spot, but it's not proved the case. I think he probably will still take penalties because it's the first one he's missed throughout his career so far, so he probably will still be on them, I would assume. But that's a debate to be had for another day.
I'm going to say
Hatate,
there'll be Hitates
yeah,
when
Hatate
Hitate's
comes
back, he'll
back.
be on them. He'll be like, right, I'll
Yeah,
show you something it's done.
yeah. My only problem with Hatate is I think he's missed one this season. He missed a couple last season. But anyway, Ida, hold up play was brilliant, particularly when Kyogo came on as well, feeding those little passes into him. When Ida brought it down, Kyogo kind of driving forward through the lines and trying to create opportunities. Yeah, I thought Kyogo made a positive impact in the game. As well, apart from maybe some of his decision making where he took some long shots was maybe lacking for me, and he could have been a bit less selfish there. But some positive signs in the game from Ida. Brendan rates him highly, we know that. Um, Comments coming out just before the game at the weekend that Brendan Rodgers, he was the one who was really instrumental in signing Adam Ida, because he got a phone call from his agent because his agent knew that Rodgers admired him and said, "Listen, do you want this guy?" And Rodgers was like, "Yeah, get him up the road." So I think that's perhaps a dig from Rodgers at the outgoing recruitment guys, Mark Lawwell and Joe Dudgeon, that they weren't involved in the signing of Vida in any way. It was more Rodgers. So that's a discussion to be had as well. But the big man, a good performance, solid performance from him at the weekend. Apart from the penalty miss, I would say he offered a lot to the team. Perhaps he had that bit of grit in between his teeth after he missed the penalty that, right, I have to contribute here and I have to give something. That long shot he had in the first half as well, when he gets it kind of just outside the box and drags it wide as he tried to find the bottom corner. Perhaps maybe a bit less selfish, similar to Kyogo there, but yeah, I think Ida on the whole, he's made a good impact. 5 goals, 1 assist in 7 games for a January loan signing striker who not many fans were excited about. I think he's made a really good impact and perhaps proved a lot of people wrong who didn't think he was going to do too well. And between now and the end of the season, as this title race goes further and further, he's going to be a massive player for Celtic, as long as he's fit and firing.
We do have the cup game at the weekend, but it is really all about the title race now. I really felt the last couple of games, like Brendan's job is build a team to beat Rangers. Like that's make
Yeah.
sure the team can beat them. That's all we need to think about now.
Mhm.
Cup's a cup, and let's put that to one side for a second. But the league running, it's going to be right down to the wire. I was just having a look at the fixtures for both teams just in preparation for today, and it before the split, like it's so obvious that it's just going to come down to the derby match that we've got on the 7th of April, And when Kyogo, and again, I know we're down to 10 men and all the rest of it, right? But when Kyogo was on, we had Dyson and Ida, I thought, wow, imagine you could get this front three to work. Like,
Yeah.
really. Because you think about how excited we were about Abada, who's on his way out now. We can maybe talk about that later in more detail if anyone cares to. But what Abada gave you on the right hand side, Kyogo could give you that
Mhm.
easy, like a
Yeah.
bit of pace. Like Abada didn't do anything amazing, really. And I think the problem with Kyogo in the wing is he's not a great winger. You know, he's not a guy that's going to hold the touch, hold the throw in line. You know, hold the width, take a guy on a dribble, play a 1-2, and play across. He wants to shoot. He wants to do moves and actions that will result in him shooting. And as a result, I think because we're down to 10 men, it was a bit more obvious at the weekend. But it was really narrow. It would like come in on the right hand side and play like quite close to Ida, like you were mentioning, to try and maybe play off one another rather than being a right forward. He was maybe a bit more kind of right centre. But yeah, if they could somehow figure out a way of doing it, like, that would just be like three. You know, and I know Dyson loves a sitter. We know that, but like the opportunities they would be able to create for one another could be amazing. You know, and then it's just about getting a wee bit of confidence and a wee bit of rhythm, and then a lot of these sitters disappear and we're back
Yeah.
to scoring 4s and 5s every week.
Yeah, it worked at St Mirren away in the cup where Kyogo and Adamida played together and Kyogo scored. He was playing that kind of number 10 role that day, arriving late in the box, third man runs, and he done pretty well. So if the pair can, Ida and Kyogo particularly, if they can get a wee partnership going, we know how crucial Adamida's been to the team, and Kyogo, we know the talent he has, obviously with his goals in the past. He's only got, 13, 14 this season, so not too good for his standards, but we know the talent he has, and if he gets an opportunity in the box, he's usually quite clinical. He's not had many opportunities this season, so getting him, he loves the big occasion, Kyogo, and it wouldn't surprise me if you put him and Ida in to the game at Ibrox and Kyogo comes up with a goal. He's got 2 goals in the derbies this season, 2 deciding goals. So we know what he's capable of, we know what he can do. Like you said, put him out wide. He's not the natural winger who's going to hug the touchline. Like you were saying, particularly if he played in the left, he's right footed, so naturally he's going to try and cut inside, perhaps similar to what Louis Palmer likes to do. But I think maybe if you put him in behind Ida, as like a number 10 slash false 9 type of role where he plays off him, essentially that's something that would work on the right, could work there as well. He'd probably hold more width if he was on the right because he's a natural right footer. Like you said, probably do a similar role to what Abada did. He is a natural finisher and a natural goal scorer, though. So that's the issue with having him out wide. And you wasting his talent by putting him out there. But when you have Adamida, who undoubtedly suits Rodgers' style much more than Kyogo, it's hard to make a case for playing him up front, Kyogo, at the minute when Ida's firing the way he is. And I assume it will be Ida who does get the nod in the next couple of games and does start at striker at Ibrox. But Kyogo's a great option to have in the squad because he does give that versatility. Like we're saying, we're even debating the fact that he could play in like 4 different roles at the minute: striker, left wing, right wing, and behind the striker. So he does bring that. And if you're chasing a goal, you just put him on. You maybe even tell him you just free roam. You do what you want. Give him the freedom of the park to go on and try and make something happen. At the weekend, he made a positive impact. Not too sure what. I think he was playing slightly off Ida, and he done pretty well in the role. So that's something the manager looks at going forward. Especially McGregor's going to be out for these next 2 games upcoming, so there's going to be a space free in that midfield. It was Bernardo who took it at the weekend, so maybe you play Iwata and O'Reilly as the 2 sort of deeper ones. Iwata holding and O'Reilly is the 8, and Kyogo maybe comes in as the 10, and the more advanced midfielder in a system like that, and replaces Bernardo in the team for the weekend. So just have to wait and see there. But yeah,
I
he's
think
a
the
good,
manager's going to try and keep that midfield
yeah.
the same
Mhm.
because we've not had
Yeah.
a Wata all season, and that's getting us a bit of joy. So I don't think the midfield like dynamic will change
Yeah.
for the rest of the season. You know, and you just
Yeah.
want McGregor fit, you want Hatate fit, and then
Yeah.
can we kick it up a level?
Aye, that's true. That's true. Even if, well, maybe later in the game you bring on Kyogo and he plays out in the wings. Obviously, Yang's going to be out, so I assume he will go with someone like Kuhn or Palma. But you wouldn't put it past him to throw in a curveball like Kyogo um, out on the wing.
Especially in the cup, by the way. Like the cup
Yeah,
game could be good. Try Dyson, Eden and Kyogo from the beginning, and then later in the match you can make subs for the likes of O and Kuhn and
yeah,
you
especially
know whoever.
it's Livingston as well. Like the
Yeah,
bottom of the table, they're so bad. So you should be expecting to put 4 or 5 past them, and that lets you experiment a bit more with the team in some positions. Obviously, like we've been saying, said it on last week's pod as well, that you want to keep that consistency in the lineup because you're building a team to beat Rangers at Ibrox. So you need to keep that in mind. But at the same time, there is the opportunity for maybe 1 or 2 wee tweaks here and there, potentially up front, like we've said, out in the wings. So the team on Sunday will be interesting, to say the least. But you should be like I said, it's Livingston. Like you should be aiming for a similar scoreline to what the Dundee game was last week, in my opinion, and bounce back.
A key factor that will decide whether we win this title or not, and whether we can get the job done, is our defensive resilience, as it were. Big
Yeah.
CCV's been in and out, shake it all about. He's been doing the hokey cokey all season.
Mhm.
And Livingston, artificial surface, yada yada. Ours at home.
It's at home, yeah.
It's at home. But Livingston in the cup, all the same. Do you think the big man plays this one, or do you think this is a rest week for him?
I think he plays probably until 60, 70 minutes, and then someone like Welshie comes on. It's obviously a tough gig for him at the weekend. Carter Vickers, kind of his real.
Did play 90. I don't think that would have been in the plan,
Yeah,
That's so.
that wasn't.
So
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like what could
Mhm.
consequences be
Yeah,
potentially?
it's been a tough season for the big man. Just constant injuries. Not really had a consistent run in the team, and that's probably affected the whole back line. We've seen it at Motherwell away. The stability he brought when he came in to the team was huge. Also at the weekend, if you didn't have him in the team, say you had like Stephen Welsh, it could have easily been a 3 or 4. And he is a leader in the team as well, so Rodgers will want to keep him in, I assume. Captain the side at the weekend, and he'll probably do so on Sunday. We do play Livingston away though, like you were saying, the game before the derby, it's Livy away in the league on Easter Sunday. So that'll be a interesting one. On the artificial surface, probably wanting to keep players as fit as you can. Maybe that's a game where we see Carter Vickers drop out, because you don't want to risk him ahead of the derby week. Just have to wait and see what happens there. But this weekend, I would say he'll keep him in. Maybe even bring him off at half time, if he's maybe feeling it, or if Celtic are a couple of goals up, because it's not a game you really need him for. Let's be honest, what attacking threat are Livingston going to offer? Probably next to none. The last time they came to Celtic Park, they didn't register a shot on goal, and when they were at Ibrox, I don't think they registered a shot on goal either. So it's going to be one of them ones where they're just going to sit in, and Celtic are going to get the freedom to attack them the whole game.
Yeah. I think the main thing that is on all of our mind is just the title, really. So I think the cup game at the weekend, it's just a kind of appetizer, as it were. But again, this is something me and you can have a good wee chat about quickly as well. But we've seen him get his debut goal, and then he came on again. He was the only second half sub in the Hearts match. Keel will come on at half time. And that's the boy Dan Kelly coming out of the B team into the senior team. I'll say for one, I was a wee bit surprised to see him. I know he's been on the bench a few times, but I was surprised to see him start and get the goal last week. Just for like we've seen the B team, he looks fine and all that, but you didn't see him and think, oh, that guy's get him into the first team right away. So it's great to see him get the opportunity and take it.
Yeah, definitely. I was as well, like yourself, a bit surprised when he came on against Dundee. Obviously, Celtic 6-0 up. Perhaps it's probably the best option for Rodgers to just throw the boy in and give him his league debut. Played in the Bucky Thistle game a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, getting the goal was huge for him. It was a great finish as well, on his weak right foot, finishing into the top corner like he did. I was a bit surprised it was Kelly who did come on at the weekend, but when you actually think of it, the only other midfield option was Odin Holm. And at some point or another, that midfield was going to need to be changed, guys, given they're all for 90 minutes. So Kelly comes on, did get the booking. I think he was a bit shafted by Maeda, though. Maeda gave him a poor pass and he kind of had to haul his guy down, which, fair enough, good foul, showing a bit of experience there, the youngster. But Celtic are wanting to get him down on a new deal. Reports of that last week. He's got, I think, once the summer comes, he'll have 6 months left. His contract expires in New Year's Eve 2024. So clubs can try and get him on a pre-contract this summer. There's interest from Leipzig and Leverkusen and teams in England. So Celtic are wanting to get him down to a new deal before the summer. And I think with the opportunities that he's been given, that's just a message to him that if you stay here, there are first team opportunities for you. Brendan Rodgers is a manager who we know likes to give youth a chance. He's developed a lot of talent in the past, and he does really rate Kelly. I've heard him in some of his press conferences and stuff like that, speaking very highly of the boy, and he's still only 18. So he has a very good prospect. Him, and I don't know what the latest is with Vata. His contract seems to be ticking down like a time bomb. But Kelly, a real bright prospect. He doesn't look like a footballer in that sense. He doesn't look like the kind of
What?
I don't think he looks like the type of elegant midfielder like Rio Hatate is. I just feel like he looks like a more kind of a guy like I don't really know, Scott Brown. type player, but I have been impressed by him watching him in the B team. He was pretty good. His goal record for the B team is actually pretty decent. Scored in a few of the youth league games, and obviously a left-footed player is sometimes hard to come by. So really looking forward to see how he progresses between now and the end of the season and getting more opportunities in the next two games, Livingston and St Johnstone, potentially ones where he comes on at half time again. Like you said, he'll probably want that consistency in the midfield, but maybe he does throw Kelly in to the game against Livingston at the weekend. So obviously we know Livy are just going to sit in, but I think that would be a curveball, and he probably comes on for the last half hour or something like that. But yeah, really pleased with the way he's doing, because I'm really enjoying seeing the young talents get a chance and taking the chance as well. Like you said, it's so often you see these guys come into the team and they don't really do much, but for two of Celtic's academy boys, Vata coming into the team and scoring earlier in the season, and now Kelly doing the same is really good to see. And we had Mitchell Frame as well, who came into the Feyenoord game in the Champions League and done well. So things are looking good.
I was just checking my notes from the Youth Champions League games that we went to.
Yeah.
So for the Lazio game, which Lazio was a decent match. You know, I don't think was that a draw or did Lazio win it?
One each.
Yeah, it was a draw.
Yeah.
The only notes I've got around Kelly is Kelly and Cummings just brutes in possession. Just thought they were like, is Cummings a striker? Was he one of the strikers?
Yeah, he's a striker.
So he was, him and the other guy, they were just going up and they were like proper like pressing. And then when they were on possession, they were, I called them brutes. And then in the Atletico Madrid game, I had a lot of notes about him improving through the game. And the Atletico Madrid game was a little bit different the way it went. But yeah, just physically very good. And both those teams were, decent opponents or whatever. So yeah, I just thought I would check that out while we were chatting about it. But great to see another young lion, another young young Celtic Academy graduate getting a debut goal. And man, I'd love to see him tied down to a deal. And we've currently got like Summers, who had this maybe not quite the same kind of situation last season, not too dissimilar, but out on loan this season. So like minutes is the most important thing for these guys. No two ways about it. Not to segue entirely, but everyone is telling me how good Bosan Lawal did at the weekend, and he's really kicking up a notch as well. So like, and even one thing I did notice, we'll not stay on this segue for long because I know people are just thinking about the main team and whatever. But I also seen on the League One team of the week, Karamoko Dembele in centre mid. Minutes, repetitions, these are the most important things for these players. When people look at like the Lennon Miller against Motherwell, when we played against Motherwell, or we see like the guys that go to Italy and do well, the thing that makes them do so well is they get opportunities to play, they get minutes. It's just they can't beat that development. And training can be amazing, sitting on the bench can be cool, but like guys need to be out absolutely. We've seen it with Quan. Quan is absolute proof in the pudding right now.
Yeah, definitely. Big Bosan Lawal, he's taken massive strides this season. He came to Celtic from Watford. I'll not waffle on too much about this, like you said. Came from Watford and he was a midfielder there in their academy. And he was their academy player of the year. And he joined Celtic as an 18-year-old and he was moulded into a centre back. Played for the first team at centre back a couple of times, but now he's went to Fleetwood and Charlie Adam is the manager there. Before Charlie Adam came in, it was Scott Brown and Lee Johnson for a bit. And he was getting played as a centre back and a right back as well. But he's came into Charlie Adams' team and plays a midfielder. And there's a video on my Youth and Loan page where it's a 3-minute compilation of him. It wasn't made by myself, it was made by someone else. But he's such a progressive ball carrying midfielder, an absolute powerhouse. I've seen a lot of people comparing him to Victor Wanyama, and the goals he scored at the weekend were actually of top quality. A volley and then a drag past his opponent and finishing it with composure into the bottom corner. So I'm intrigued to see how he does and if there is a first team berth for him when he returns to Celtic. I know Quan, St Mirren are in talks to extend the loan to next season. Stephen Robinson said that last week. Potentially, like you said, the minutes factor there's probably something, but there is going to be a lot of competition among these guys when they come back to Celtic. Lawal, Kelly, Quan even. So it's positive that those players are there for Rodgers. I'm sure he'll look forward to working with them. Yeah,
for sure. So that's a wee bit of a tangent that we love to run away with, So I genuinely like this season has been a roller coaster, and it's been more kind of downturns and upturns, sadly. But like overall, like I think for what we've spoke about so far on the podcast, like I am quite pleased with kind of roundabout what's happening on the pitch. Sadly, the result of the weekend doesn't do us any favors or justice, despite the opportunity that we had to, regain some sort level of control on the league. But I feel a lot better about our opportunities or our chances of winning the league again this year, because I think pre-split that derby game, like if we win that, then confidence is right in, and the thing with them as well that hasn't really been taken into consideration is they've now got 2 games to play against Benfica, and that is going to be like that. Benfica are either going to humiliate them, which is not impossible. Benfica are pretty, they've not been that great for the last 18 months, but they started to get their act together. Or, they've not been that great for the last 18 months, like I was saying, since they've sold Enzo and a few other guys. So it might be a real war between Benfica and Rangers over 2 games, and that is only good for the teams are going to play in the following Saturdays and Sundays, or whatever it is. So, I think, will we be watching Thursday night football? Will we go to those levels? Because I think every time I've watched Rangers in Europe, I always watch them turning in to watch them get beat against Dortmund, against Leipzig, against these teams, and they never get beat. And I was just like, do you know what? I'm going to stop watching them because it just feels like they're doing it to annoy me. So
I know.
Do we go down that path again of watching them on a Thursday for?
I won't be personally coming off the back of 2 games in the Europa League. They do have 2 away games. One of them's in the cup to Hibs, and one of them's in the league to Dundee. So some tough ones there. We know Dundee are no mugs this season under Tony Docherty. So tough run against them. And even if they get through that tie, they'll have to go into a quarter final. And I'm not sure what the dates are for the quarter final.
If they did get through it, that would be they will be knackered. If they somehow get through that, it's going to be.
And even if it is, say the quarter final, I'm not entirely sure about the dates, but one of the dates might be the Thursday before the derby. If they're away from home, then it's advantage Celtic, let's be honest. So you can look at it both ways, but listen, we shouldn't be too concerned with them. Celtic should be focused on Celtic at the minute and how they're playing. And it seems to have, after the Motherwell game, we got 2 last-minute goals. I feel like a corner has been turned. Even after the defeat of the weekend, I still feel like that corner has been turned because the way they're playing in the pitch is still really good, regardless of the result of the weekend. You can't really take that into consideration. Like I said, it's just one of those ones you have to wipe. And the positive mood and surrounding the club and the place will only return at the weekend. They've got a big scoreline against Livingston, which I think the players are very much capable of. Then you go to St Johnstone at home the next week. Yet again, it's a game you should be looking to make a big scoreline in. And then Livingston away is one where it's not really provided Celtic with a lot of troubles recently. It used to, but I don't think that's one that Celtic should be feeding anymore. They're rock bottom of the table. They have players who are of Scottish Championship quality, I feel. So next 3 games are ones Celtic should be aiming for big score lines in, and doing so only breeds confidence going into that derby, which is absolutely crucial. There's no getting about that. It's the biggest league derby we've probably had in a long, long time, let's be honest. If Celtic win it, advantage them in the title race, but if Celtic lose, then 5 points. It's tough to claw back in the space of about 5 or 6 games. So it's going to be one of them ones that could easily go either way. I was just nervous thinking about it. Like you said, it just gives you the chills. Honestly, I'm not looking. It's one of those ones where you're actually not looking forward to watching it because
Not right now.
Nah, I'm so not looking forward. Anyway, get back to the present because it's still over a month away yet, but it feels like the build up for it has already started, and that just shows you how big it is.
Because it was an opportunity missed at the weekend. I don't think we were that surprised that Motherwell pulled it off because they gave us a bloody good game. So it's it wasn't that big of a surprise, but I definitely didn't feel that Celtic fans were counting chickens or getting too ahead of themselves before the kind of Hearts game. So it's one of those title races where it is, it's like in England now they've got a lovely kind of 3-horse race in the same kind of mold where it is like you think the next one to blink is probably going to drop it, and unfortunately they blinked and then
we blinked as well.
Yeah, well, did we or did we? Did someone scoosh water in our face?
Yeah,
or something?
Aye, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, it's a tight race, close tight race. It's not one we've seen in a long, long time. Let's be honest, in Rodgers' first and second seasons, there was no title race. I think he won it by something stupid, like over 20 points in his first season, the invincible year. My only concern is that when he was in that title race with Liverpool, let's be honest, Liverpool bottled it, and then he kind of bottled top four twice with Leicester. So that's my only concern with the manager, that he's had those kind of experiences in the past where it's been tight going into the end of the season, and he's not managed to pull it off. But let's hope this season can be the one where he does. And the team are capable. It's a team of champions. They're playing decent football at the minute, and they have the edge over Rangers, I feel, particularly given the games that have gone by this season. And even in those games, Celtic went at full strength, in no way at full
No.
strength, in the two derbies. Adamida wasn't even in the door at that point. So, I mean, look at that derby at Ibrox. Gustav Lagerbielke, who has been sent into exile, he was on the bench at the weekend, but we've not seen him, I don't think, since like Feyenoord at home, when he scored the goal at the last minute. He played that game, and it was Liam Scales' kind of first appearance. So Celtic have been weak in the derbies gone by, and this one, you'd like to think are going to go into it with a bit of momentum. Potentially Hatate coming back into the team. There's probably going to be, Celtic fans should have a bit more confidence in what they have had in previous ones, and in the previous ones they've won them. So that gives you a bit more of a positive outlook going into the games. But it is very close. 2 points is absolutely nothing, like the manager said. Goal difference is there's like 1 or 2 goals in it as well. It's just so tight. You could. I think it's going to go down to the last day of the season. They did confirm in the SPFL that the last game of the season for top 6 is a Saturday, and all the games are going to be early kickoffs. So it won't be a helicopter Sunday; it would be a helicopter Saturday.
Whoa.
So that's a new one. Yeah, I kind of felt it. Like, you know how you just have sneaky suspicions when you're watching football. I've just had this from like kind of near the start of the season. That's going to go down to the last game, and as the campaign progresses, you just feel as though that could be the case more and more. I'm not sure a lot of people would be a fan of that. The heart palpitations they'd probably have last game to decide the title. The advantage Celtic have after the split as well is that we've got 3 home games. Rangers will only have 2.
Ooh, nice.
So that's good. And probably the last game of the season probably will be at Celtic Park, and Rangers will probably be away. So that gives you a slight edge as well if it is going down to the last day. But it's all if buts and maybes now, and just need to focus on the present.
Would those mad buggers at the SFA make the last game of the season, Celtic versus Rangers?
No, that would be carnage. Carnage.
Mate,
No.
everyone in the world would watch that.
Oh, that would be.
I'd be like,
That would. No, they'd
I
honestly.
don't wish it to happen, by the way. But
They may as well just start World War III if they're going to do that. The absolute. Imagine. I mean, it could easily go either way. Like, if Celtic beat Rangers at Celtic Park to win the league, that would be. And they get to lift the trophy after it. That'd be some scenes. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what Neil Doncaster and his team conjure up regarding fixtures.
Of course. Well, before we get ahead ourselves for that one, Josh, we do have a game at the weekend, and we always finish the podcast off with a bit of a score prediction. As I say, I'm not paying this one too much mind beyond what we've kind of discussed already in the show today. And, you know, I'm thinking we're going to get something like a 4-0 on this one.
Yeah, it should be one of those ones. Yeah, I'm going to go with 3-0. I expect Celtic to keep a clean sheet. I expect Livingston to pose much of a threat attacking wise, and yeah, it should be one of those ones where it's a comfortable victory that builds more confidence in the team and builds the mood again.
You going to the game yourself?
Yes, I will be.
Oh, good. Well, to yourself, mate, and anyone else that's going to the game, travel safe, have fun, and I guess we'll see you all next week.
All right, see you next week. Cheers for listening.
Hail, hail.